Southern Miss 39, Louisiana 24. Southern Miss gets the big victory over the reigning Sun Belt champions. That's Jackson Howell. That is Nathan Lee. I'm David Mixon, and we are here live from The Rock in Hattiesburg, Mississippi. Gentlemen, great game. I think it's actually a reverse of what we've been seeing this entire season. Normally, the offense struggles and struggles and struggles and struggles, and the defense gives them a chance to win the game in the end. This time, it was the exact flip of that. The offense did not struggle in the beginning of this game. They were bam, 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 bam. The defense helped them a little bit, but it was really the offense actually succeeding. And then at the end of the game, the offense struggled, and the defense saved the game with a Natron Brooks interception right here on the 40. And behind you, where you're watching this, is where he scored. We were standing over there with this annoying beep. But anyways, I'll turn it over to these guys. Jackson, what are your immediate thoughts? Southern Miss 5-3.
Well, it was the big play today, right? The offense came out to play. I asked Frank Gore this after the game. I asked him if, since it was going to be a nationally televised game, would there be a little bit of pep in his step? And he said yes, because of all his family watching back at home. And you could definitely see that. First quarter, they had 20 points. I believe it was 29 at halftime, their total. They really showed out. They had the big play, the 52-yard touchdown from Frank Gore. He threw it out of the superback formation, first time this year, I believe. Since the Liberty game, of course, but hit Mims on that. And then the big play from Wilkie to Brownlee. He makes a cut across midfield and then takes it all the way for a 76-yard touchdown. The big play is what helped Southern Miss, and they made it. The defense made enough plays to keep them in it, and then they made the last play at the very end. But really, offense was the story, and it's dominating victory by the Southern Miss Golden Eagles.
Yeah, Zach Wilkie started the game, as we all expected. Zach Wilkie's first pass was an interception. Will Hall said he read it right. I don't necessarily know how, because he threw it literally right to the linebacker. But, you know, it is okay, because right after that, he kind of went off and played really well. Nathan, how would you grade the offense in the first half?
Grading the offense in the first half, I think you give it a B+, A-, which is probably the best it'll be. And I don't know if he'll get much better than what they showed out there. And Jackson hit it right on the nail. It was the big play. We've been waiting for that. I know Southern Miss fans have, and all the Sun Belt has been waiting for Southern Miss, this offense to explode like Will Hall said it would. And, I mean, when you have a passing touchdown from Frank Gore, I mean, Pat McAfee posted it on his Instagram. That's pretty big time, you know, and Southern Miss is getting that kind of love. It was a heck of a throw, too. But the big play, it was really what exploded this team. And at the end of the day, if you're going to give this team a 14-point lead, I just don't see the defense giving that up. They tried. they didn't play the greatest at the end when it came down to the nitty-gritty, but, you know, that big-time pick six, just like you said, sealing it. So big plays on offense really led the way, and just getting that big lead was big time for Southern Miss.
Yeah, exactly what Nathan just said. If Southern Miss gets a lead on you of probably 14 or more points, it's going to be tough. You're not going to be able to sustain a lot of offense. Obviously, you know, Louisiana figured it out. Over 350 yards of offense for Louisiana tonight. One play that just resonates in my mind is Jason Brownlee on the 50. I think there was a still shot on Twitter that had Jason Brownlee with four guys literally at his heels, and he scored. So just like Nathan and Jackson said, the big plays very much a factor in tonight's game. But in the second half, guys, you know, the offense just died. I mean, what was it? How many yards in the second half, Jackson?
There were 55 total yards of offense. 55 total yards of offense in the second half. And Will Hall talked about it post-game. He said he got a little conservative, said he didn't want to give up the lead, playing not to lose. It turned out it worked towards the very end. They did just enough on offense to be able to get what they needed done. They got the field goal, and then the pick six at the end really sealed it. But really, the second half was about the defense. Sure, Ben Wooldridge was able to dice the Southern Miss defense at times, but when it mattered, a turnover on downs force that was negated by a Frank Gore fumble on the next play, and they obviously scored on that. But then at the very end, the pick six by Natron Brooks, just to put an exclamation point on it. So first half was all about the offense. Second half, it was about that Southern Miss defense once again.
Yeah, and the D-line just dominated. I mean, it seemed like every time Wooldridge was back to pass, he would have somebody in his face, especially was true in the end of the game. I think that is an important point to point out that Will Hall did admit after the press conference that, they started play calling very conservative. I'm sure as if you were watching the game, you saw a lot of running, you saw a lot of super back. You didn't really see the downfield shots they were taking in the first half. Nathan, do you agree with that? Do you think because I think you have to think about it where they have so much confidence in the defense that, like, man, we just put up 29 points and we're up, like, what was it, 29-5? You're like, oh, okay, let's run the clock down to make sure we win. You don't want to lose, but, I mean, feels like you still want to play to win.
Yeah. See, for me personally, I'm always a play to win guy. I'm never about, taking it off the gas. I'm never about that, but sometimes it works. And then when you're in a situation like this, when you can rely on that defense and you can rely on that super back every now and then, even though you only get 55 yards in the second half, this is a team that can do that. And I wouldn't be surprised if we see that more if they were to get leads on a Georgia State or a ULM later down the line. So I wouldn't be surprised to see that again. But I do want to point out, this was easily the most complete game I've seen from Southern Miss, and that was a point that was Will Hall made in the post game as well. Just like Jackson said, and Demon said, offense in the first half, defense in the second half, and special teams came up play. Mason Hunt dropped that one right on the inch line on one drive. I was right in front of it. I got perfect video for it. But that was the big thing for me, is that, yeah, there was mistakes. Sometimes the defense got carved up. The offense didn't look great in the second half. But overall, I don't think I've seen Southern Miss have such a complete game in a long, long time.
Exactly, and those are such great points. It was a complete effort by the entire team. But just going back to the play to win thing, I don't know, Jackson. I mean, I wanted your comments on this too. It just feels like because this has not happened for Southern Miss this season, right? They haven't been up on a team. They've always been playing from behind. I mean, taking out the Northwestern State game. I mean, obviously, but but they haven't been up 29-5 on a team. So it's kind of like, what do we do? Like, are we gonna keep going with this? Hope we get this offensive success. But they know the defense is good, right? They're not questioning the defense. But I think the question was, how much can the offense keep this up? And so let's run the ball and run down the clock. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, Will Hall said it was due to a freshman quarterback being back there, and I actually really agree with that. The run game, Louisiana kind of stopped it in the second half, but they did what they had to do. You had Zach Wilkie, who had 7 interceptions the last 3 games, throw in a couple fumbles in there as well. Threw an interception on his very first pass tonight, so you don't want to put the game on his shoulders. Sure, Louisiana was able to stop the Southern Miss rush attack, but I think it was a smart move to try and keep it on the ground and try to mitigate any risk because the past few weeks, Southern Miss has been prone to shoot themselves in the foot. So they did just enough offensively, got just enough, took advantage of the opportunities, and they played opportunistic defense, and that was it.
Yeah, and another big thing was the defense did not allow points off turnovers when it really mattered. They did allow a point off turnover in the end of the game when Frank Gore Jr. fumbled the ball on the goal line, and then I just forgot who they're playing. Louisiana scored. My gosh, brain fart. But but I think it's important to note, Zach Wilkie, after that first interception, 2 touchdowns, no more interceptions, no more real mistakes. He had one throw that was bad, and it could have been intercepted, but thankfully it was kind of overthrown there. But just want to talk a little bit about Frank Gore Jr. I felt like he played out of his mind tonight. 130 yards, I believe, for him. And he said in the post-game conference that he played with an extra step because he knew he was on national television and his family was watching. Talk about Frank Gore Jr., Nathan. Talk about the run game and how important that was for them to get that going.
I mean, we've been saying it all year. The run game is what Southern Miss needs to win games. And we know what Frank Gore can do. Everyone knows what Frank Gore Jr. can do on a football field. It was just about getting him those touches. And I do want to make this point, too. Frank Gore was amazing tonight, but that run committee, we saw a little bit of that tonight. And I think that allows, Frank to kind of, rest a little bit so he can have those big plays. And to just get to the point about Frank, I mean, his talent has been told to everybody for so long. And I don't think it's a surprise at this point to see Frank do the things that he does. Obviously, the 52-yard passing touchdown, I mean, that's gonna surprise anyone. But, you know, I just think overall Frank was great. And the committee of running backs was great.
You know, I just loved that 52-yard passing touchdown because you know who had no idea Frank was fixing to throw the ball? Louisiana.
Yeah.
I mean, he ran up to the line and threw it. I mean, that is a great play call, and it was a perfect ball. He said in post-game conference it was quote-unquote money. Jackson, what was a bigger win for Will Hall, Tulane or Louisiana?
Man, that's a tough one, putting me on the spot. I still have to go with Tulane because I think that was kind of the turning of the tide, no pun intended. But, you know, that kind of proved that they could win these big games. But there's a point to be made that this could be as big of a win because it was on national TV and all that. One win away from bowl eligibility in year 2 of the Will Hall era at Southern Miss. That's pretty important to me, I think.
Nathan, Tulane, Louisiana.
I'm going to lean like Jackson. I think Tulane was overall the better win, but this win is massive for Sunbelt. You had to get a big win. Troy was the first opportunity. Things happen. You don't play as great as you don't play as good as you possibly could have, and you lose that game. But then you get the champs, the former champs, in your building, and you do what you did to them tonight. You know, yeah, the score may have at the end was a little bit closer than everyone wanted it to be, but they dominated, you know, and that's going to be seen by everybody in the Sun Belt. I know Louisiana isn't what they were last couple seasons, but overall, I mean, when you beat a former champ in your conference, you're sending shockwaves through the entire league.
Exactly. I would also going to go with Tulane as well. I just think I agree with Jackson. It was almost like the breaking, like, okay, they can do this, right? Liberty, it would have been that, but they couldn't get the job done because they made the mistakes, and we were like, okay, maybe they're not ready yet. But Tulane, they went on the road and beat a team who's literally in the top 25 right now, you know. So, but this is a huge win. Like, we're not downplaying it, but looking up at the little thing up there, 2016 New Orleans Bowl. That is the last time Southern Miss won a bowl game against Louisiana, against UL. So Southern Miss is 1 win away from bowl eligibility, and they won on this field tonight, 39-24. That's Jackson. That's Nathan. I'm Dima, and thanks for watching our post-game reactions. We'll see you next week when Southern Miss takes on Georgia State.